Family, family, family. We love legendary drops, guys.
Games in a near 10-to-1 ratio now, and I never feel exhausted.
I don't. One of my most favorite games, for crying out loud, is Repo and Peak. Like, come on. Indies have just knocked it out of the park.
If I play a AAA game from start to finish, I feel like I need to take a vacation afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of agree.
It feels like the biggest games in the industry.
Oh, it's what?
For us more while we continue to get less out.
That's right, yeah.
And then years later there'll be a sequel. And the reason that I love the game is now buried under a bunch of useless garbage that's just...
Exactly. Like, I don't mind a sequel. I love sequels. But it feels like... What's a good way to describe it? It feels like I get a load of sludge with that sequel. And each next sequel gets even more sludge with it.
It's there to make the game look better rather than actually be any better. And this is something that we've seen play out across the entire industry, especially when it comes to major franchises. Adding in a bunch of useless stuff that just does not need to be there, whether that's open worlds or RPG mechanics.
Assassin's Creed didn't need RPG mechanics. Was it getting kind of stale? Yes. But you had so much extra time that Black Flag bought you. And then you saw how people were really not okay with 3. 3 was good in like a tiny, like we liked the whole like story switch up thing and stuff. But those 2 games bought you time. Where you could have realized we need to course correct. We need to go back to what Brotherhood was doing. We need to bring back Desmond. Because that was like the big thing that brought people back, was the story, Desmond's story. But also the stealth mechanics and the pseudo-realism. Like, not all of it was 100% historically accurate, but it was pretty darn close. Like, they went out of their way to get Italy right. Like, I think a lot of Italians appreciated that. Where, like, the Sistine Chapel was the Sistine Chapel and stuff. And that if someone historical appeared in that period, sometimes they'd use them, but other times they'd use, like, lesser, like, historical characters. Because, like, the idea was that this was all happening behind the scenes and stuff. Like, this wasn't in the public view. Like, every now and then, an assassin would pop up. But, like, only for a few moments. They would not put that much effort in anymore. It seemed, because right after 3, we got what I consider the death toll bells for Ubisoft, and that was... What was it called? Odyssey? Not Odyssey. Odyssey was the slap in the face. Whatever the Egyptian one was.
Non-narrative games now becoming just flooded with dialogue.
I hated Odyssey with my very being, Alan. Because I love Assassin's Creed for Assassin's Creed. That wasn't Assassin's Creed. That was a RPG set in Roman mythological times. Had nothing to do with Assassin's Creed. Like, if you like the game, that's fine. But it wasn't Assassin's Creed. You might as well have called it Odyssey, because the only Assassin's Creed thing there was you had a dagger, arm dagger. An arm blade. I can't even call it a hidden blade because, like, they're wearing armor and stuff. And, like, I'm assuming you have weapons on you.
useless game modes, battle royales, whatever it might be. And all these things are there just to inflate playtime because developers have gaslit themselves into believing that, well, the longer a game is, the more value that players get out of it.
They haven't gaslit themselves. That's kind of what we've given them the idea with the whole, if it's not at least 60 hours of playtime, I'm not spending $60. But the idea behind that was, if I don't feel like I've gotten 60 hours out of it, I feel like it's a waste. The real message people were trying to put across with that, gamers were trying to put across with that, was the fact that if the game's fun enough, I'll replay the game. Especially if you make it replayable, I will keep playing it. But this whole padding it out with little extra sludge stuff that doesn't make sense, that doesn't help you. That maybe pads your game out, but it lessens the experience overall, so there's less chance of me replaying it.
And also on top of that, it's really nice because it keeps you in the game longer and more
Hi, Lacan.
by microtransactions. But while it took a while, I think that feeling of...
But it wasn't Assassin's Creed, Alan. I'm not, like I said, if you like the game, that's fine. But it wasn't Assassin's Creed.
Paying more for less, that general erosion of quality, that's the reason why so many people are frustrated today. That's why you have angry gamers. But you know what gamers aren't angry at? Indie. They're the most widely celebrated games in the industry. Small teams making small games that feel a hell of a lot bigger than they actually are because they become the inversion of AAA. They are offering more for less. What a value proposition. But I think it actually goes deeper than that. I think it's more about fulfillment and enjoyment. And that's what I want to talk about today. And I also want to talk about why I think indie is succeeding and
why I think indie is succeeding is because they're doing it how games were meant to be done. How they used to be done. Where it was the game first, the customer and the game first. Like, they're not making a game for some old guy or crazy person that gave them a few bucks and is like, you make it this way to make lots of money, so I make money. That's not how games work. Never has, never will. You're slowly killing all of your studios because you're doing that. The only reason you got to this point is because you had a lot of nostalgia and, like, brand loyalty that you built up before you started doing this. And now you're just killing it all. I'm pretty sure it's because, like, I'm pretty sure quite a few of these bigger games studios are not going to be here in the next few years. I'm pretty confident in that, at least.
Why I think the reason for that is because they go deep instead of wide. But before that, this video is sponsored by Boot.dev, the best way, and honestly the fastest way, that I've found to be able to learn back-end development without getting bored or giving up halfway through. I've been testing it myself, and what really sets it apart is how it feels more like a game than a course. You're not just passively watching videos, you're writing real code from the very first lesson, building projects in Python and Go, and actually preparing yourself for the kind of back-end jobs that pay well over 6 figures in the US. Boot.dev solved the hardest problem with e-learning, boredom, by, well, just making the entire thing a game, giving you XP, levels, achievements, even quests, anything to be able to keep you engaged. And even if you do get stuck, well, they have an AI wizard bear named Boots that jumps in with some Socratic-style questions to kind of guide you towards the answers rather than just handing them to you. What I really love about their site and program is you can just create a free account, preview every single course, and read all of the content in guest mode. But if you want the real experience, the interactive coding, answer verification, progress tracking, and community boss fights, well, you want the membership. So if you're serious about learning back-end development the right way, go to boot.dev and use my code LegendaryDrops to get 25% off your first entire year on an annual plan. That's boot.dev, code LegendaryDrops. Link is in the description and the pinned comment.
I do like boot.dev. Ooh, Hollow Knight.
There is a laundry list of reasons as to why we've seen so much animosity towards a lot of games over the years, and I noticed that while I often talk about these issues, I never just grab a single part of the problem and just run it the length of the field. And in one of my recent videos, I had offhandedly mentioned the idea that too many games are trying to go wide instead of deep, and how I don't need games to do everything, I just need them to do a handful of things really fucking well. That idea clicked for me because I saw people complaining about Mafia Old Country and how the game didn't have swimming.
This one still boggles my mind. What the hell are you doing trying to swim as a freaking Mafia member? That's the last thing you want to be doing as a Mafia member. When they say, go swimming with the fishes, they're not saying have a good time. Ow. I'm sorry for that, Alan. But yeah, like, I feel like that'd be the last thing they ever would put in a Mafia game. Because there's literally, like, Mafia members literally coined the term swimming with the fishes. It means they're gonna off you and give you cement shoes. There's also the take a long walk off a short pier with some cement shoes and stuff like that.
A mechanic that would add nothing to the game's experience, and when
it would add nothing.
I started thinking about
the only time you would ever go to that water is to look at it or die.
What a single mechanic like that will do to the design process of a game, because it's never just swimming. The moment that you add it, you have to justify it. Now there's a mission where you fall into the water. Now stealth sections are built around it, maps and navigation are reshaped for it. Even the game's story is gonna bend or break just to be able to acknowledge it. And what looks like a simple omission to players, in reality is the start of a slippery slope that starts pulling the entire design away from where it was meant to be. And that,
like, exactly. Like, could they have added a thing where a one-off, like, side mission where you save someone from getting, like, offed? Sure. But that's a lot of coding and a lot of extra animations and stuff for not much of a payoff. Like, you're not going to get much enjoyment out of that one mission. So they have to do more, and then that's
where bloat comes in, a word that I use all the time, because
it's
it
bloat.
doesn't just describe one thing, it describes everything. These companies, their budgets, their production pipelines, and most of all, the games themselves. AAA has stretched so far, so broad, that it's lost touch with its original concepts. Instead of doubling down on what made these games powerful in the first place, they have expanded sideways until the core experience has been drowned out. The clearest example, and honestly the lowest hanging piece of fruit here, is Assassin's Creed. The first game was limited in scope. One city, one clear design, tactical stealth, brutal combat, and a gripping story. That's it. It didn't need anything else, and it worked. It worked so well that it turned Ubisoft into a household name. But as the series went on, that formula started to slip away. Rather than refining the mechanics that carried it, the games ballooned. Yes, there were some high points. I think that Black Flag ship mechanics are really great, but outside of that, every
Brotherhood was a reason to have multiple cities. I liked that. Like, that was the idea. Is, like, he is the head of an assassin's organization. Like, of course he's gonna run multiple cities. That's just obvious. But when they took away Desmond, they also took away the reason to go to other assassins. Neither of those was fun for me, Alan. They were both... Mirage is the sickening dagger that was plunged into the Assassin's Creed series. Valhalla and Odyssey were the poison. None of those are an assassin game. All of those are cash grabs. You may have enjoyed them, but not one bit of an Assassin's Creed player loves them.
Pulled away further and further from what the series was supposed to be. I mean, Assassin's Creed today isn't even the same series. It's an open world RPG packed with mounts, gathering, crafting,
like I said,
base building, loot mechanics, and layered RPG progression. Ubisoft has gone so wide with the experience that every system now has to justify its own existence, which means that they're forced to...
I'd once again argue that AC3A should have been the future story and the end of the series. Fair? The idea, though, is they should have kept with the Desmond thing. Finish his story out, because he was apparently an ancestor of a ton of assassins. So, like, it made no sense that we got to see, what, 3? But, like, things could have been different. I'm just imagining, like, what we could have had, and it makes me sad.
To the core loop, whether you like it or not. You want to advance the story? Too bad. Killing enemies and completing missions is not enough anymore. You've got to climb lookout points. You got to run obstacle courses. You got to scavenge for hidden collectibles just to be able to unlock...
See what I mean?
Skill points, because otherwise you'll hit a progression gate that's going to block you from continuing the main narrative. And the worst part is, if the game still nailed its fundamentals, maybe all that padding wouldn't be so bad, but it doesn't. The narrative is a shadow of what it once used to be. Voice acting feels completely phoned.
Why is there yellow paint on the side of a cliff in the middle of the wilderness? Good gosh.
Stealth is
good gosh!
Spec your character into a walking tank, and combat is simpler and duller than most mobile games. All of these are symptoms of resources being siphoned away from the core experience and poured into systems, side systems that demand that you use them. On paper, this game has a lot to do, but when you're forced to do all of it just to continue the narrative, that's not enriching the experience, it's dragging it down. It's not engaging the player, it's exhausting them. And it isn't just Assassin's Creed, it's become the template for AAA as a whole. Look at Starfield. Bethesda crammed everything into that game. Gathering, crafting, cooking, base building, outposts, shipbuilding. They even stretched the scale of space itself, trying to make it feel real. Ambitious, for sure, but by spreading themselves across so many systems, the quality of the game collapsed. The game became a mess of loading screens, character building that once defined Bethesda felt completely flat, gunplay was stiff, AI was brain dead, and the story was the most generic thing that I'd ever played in my life, and all of the planets were lifeless. Shipbuilding was a cool idea, but what is the point of building a ship when flying a ship feels meaningless? There are endless examples of this, but I think it boils down to two things: games going too wide in scope and games that are just going too wide in the audience that they're chasing. Publishers want to inflate playtime to justify their budget and their price tag, while also convincing themselves that more features will pull in bigger crowds. Take Doom the Dark Ages as an example. I am only bringing this up because there is one guy in my comment section that will not shut up and stop defending the game because he doesn't like my opinion on it, but it is the perfect example. They padded the game out to have a longer narrative, not because fans wanted it, but because they thought it might broaden its appeal. That's also why they threw in shallow gimmicks like a 2-click giant robot fight or a dragon flying minigame. Hell, it's the reason why they swapped out Too Young to Die for the sanitized version of Aspiring Slayer difficulty. None of it is about serving the core audience. It is about the hypothetical audience that they've created in their heads and how they're going to get them. And all of this just makes these games feel like bland, tasteless slop. The bigger they get, the less substance is there. These stories are starting to feel like filler, the gameplay is getting stale, and the fundamentals are being ignored. Think about where we're at right now. A game shipping with stable frame rates is treated like a selling point. That's how far...
That's a part of gaming that's pissed me off the most. Like, why have we, like, there's no reason we should be, like, you should be able to use a 1060 and still get around, but you barely can now. Unless you're with Indie. Still works pretty good there.
Things have gotten. Studios are spreading themselves so thin that
Oh no, I know who to blame.
isn't even on the table anymore. This is what's tanking their credibility with players. And people don't understand just how deep this damage goes, because it's not just their games getting worse, it's not just their reputations collapsing. Going wide also balloons their costs. Their teams swell, their budgets explode, and suddenly you have a game that would have cost you $150 million that's now costing you 2 to 3 times that. Then inevitably, when that game underperforms, the losses hit them even harder, and instead of scaling back, they just double down. They convince themselves that the answer is going even wider, reaching even more people, and then the cycle repeats, dragging them further and further into the hole. Now, I don't want this all to sound like pure doom and gloom. I do like video games, by the way.
We love video games. We just want them to go back to being good. I think a big issue with a lot of these AAA games is they force some of these, like, bloat into it. Like the whole super crazy graphics that you can see the hair follicles. You can see the sweat start to drip. Why? You don't want to see that in real life. Why do you want to see it here?
AAA games do get it right. Take Final Fantasy VII Remake, the sequel to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. They added a lot. Huge open world areas to explore, piles of side content. The Golden Saucer was packed with mini games and side stories, but the difference is the core gameplay actually improved. The narrative was stronger, the RPG mechanics were deeper, and the combat felt way sharper. Aerial combos actually clicked better, team attacks were really cool, and they added some visual flair. Boss fights had a lot more variety, and the overall gameplay just felt better. It proved that you can expand the game without losing sight of why people like it. That said, I still think that there's a ceiling, because even when it works, these games are getting enormous. The average playtime is now creeping past 40 hours on a game, and people do not have that kind of time. With work, family, and everything else, finishing a single game can stretch into weeks or even months in some cases, by which point 3 more massive releases are already out. Even when the quality is there, the sheer size becomes a barrier to entry.
Hi, Mercury. It's going good. How are you doing?
Chasing breath and
hey, Anonymous.
Systems, more hours, more everything. At the core.
Hi, Midmush. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Even in the rare
Radar!
expansion works like Rebirth, the sheer size becomes its own problem. Bigger doesn't always mean better.
Sorry, the YouTube chat just started updating, and I scrolled through, and I was like, so many stuffs.
And in fact, more times than not, it just means emptier. I don't know about you guys, but when I see a month that's just stacked with AAA games, I almost hope that some of them are bad so I don't have to play them. Because I already know 2 things right off the get. I don't want to spend that much money, and I don't have that kind of time. And on top of that, I just don't really feel like playing a game that makes me feel like I need to take a nap.
Yeah, some of these games make me feel like I need to take a nap, and then other of them are like, why are you here? And then some of them are like, I don't have enough money for you.
You know, on the topic of games that do it right, Elden Ring. Fantastic game. All-time favorite.
Amazing.
I will never play it again. I really do not see myself ever playing.
I'll probably play it again, but I see what he's saying.
Elden Ring ever again. They nailed the Dark Souls theme on a massive
scale. YouTube! How you doing?
Fantastic. The combat was great. The boss fights were absolutely epic. But, goddamn, man, that's a lot of video game. Especially once you add the DLC on top of it. There's no way I could beat that game again. No, I don't have the time. I don't have the hours for that. Maybe it's age. Maybe it's burnout. I'm just getting too old.
Hi, Emperor Dragon.
That's what it is. But it feels like in a lot of cases with a lot of these games that I loved, the reasons I played them just aren't there anymore. You know, when I played Assassin's Creed Shadows, I swear, Scout's Honor, is that how you do it? Scout. I swear, I tried to give that game a shot. I really did. I tried to give it a fair shot. But the minute that it hit me with a level gate of level 15 for me to be able to, continue on the story, I just gave up. The game was just not good enough for me to be able to justify another 20 hours of busy work. I'm not going to do it. And that's exactly why there is such a wide contrast between indie and AAA right now. Because they are the masters of pacing. They are the masters of simplicity. And they know how to make small games feel big and big games feel manageable. And that's a really difficult thing to do, but these guys make it look easy. I have never been exhausted by playing an indie game, and I feel like I could play 20 of them at a time if I wanted to. And I never felt like my time was wasted. And the reason for that is, they just take a couple of things, and they do them perfectly. Indie games by design can't afford to go wide. They don't have the teams, they don't have the budgets, and more times than not, these guys don't even have the experience to try to make a game that has a lot of systems or is too big. But that limitation is working in their favor. Take Witchfire, that's actually the game that inspired this video. I've been hooked on it. It's an FPS roguelike with leveling persistence like Dark Souls and the enemy mechanics to match, but it never strays beyond that. No cutscenes, no dialogue, no exposition, no side modes. You're just dropped onto an island, you kill monsters, you hunt for secrets, and you fight bosses. That's it. That's the entire game, and because it's being made by a team of less than 20...
Wait, what is this game?
They don't have the budgets, and more times than not, these guys don't even have the experience to try to make a game that has a lot of systems or is too big. But that limitation is working in their favor. Take Witchfire, that's actually the game that inspired this video. I've been hooked on it. It's an FPS roguelike.
It looks really good. We might play this. I like the aesthetic and the art design.
Leveling persistence like Dark Souls and the enemy mechanics to match, but it never strays beyond that. No cutscenes, no dialogue, no exposition, no side modes. You're just dropped onto an island, you kill monsters, you hunt for secrets, and you fight bosses. That's it. That's the entire game, and because it's being made by a team of less than 20 people, there isn't enough time or money for them to try to chase anything else. That forced focus that they have makes every single part of this game shine brighter than most FPS games on the market right now. The gunplay is some of the best that I've felt since the original Halo series. If I put it in words, it feels like what Destiny would be like if that was actually a game that was worth playing, but the movement is fluid, every single weapon feels distinct, and each one of them comes with their own unique quirks where it completely changes the way that you play the game or how you build your character. There's an assault rifle that'll link all the enemies together so your damage will ricochet shots between them. There's a shotgun that'll stack power with every single consecutive hit. There's a rifle with a charge shot that rewards your timing, and the more that you use these weapons, the more their abilities evolve, and sometimes they'll gain entirely new mechanics altogether. But because weapons are the main focus in Witchfire, everything else is built to serve them. Killing enemies is just going to unlock more weapon abilities. Experience points are going to let you level your character to fit your favorite.
Wait, so is this game kind of feels like that game that Sky was really liking. I'm trying to remember what that game is. It's like that multiplayer game, but it looks very similar.
Loadout boss fights are tuned to try to push you to diversify your arsenal. Each run is going to give you currency to be able to buy new weapons and upgrades. Even the roguelike modifiers are all about enhancing the way that your guns play. Everything is extending from that core, and it's all tied back to just one...
Well, no, I know it's different. It just seems like they have similar ideas for their, like, art design, and I like that.
And because of that, the quality feels higher and tighter across the board. No wasted time, no wasted effort. Every action feeds back into the gunplay, and that constant
YouTube, I can see you now if you want to say hi again and stuff.
Feedback, that constant sense of progression keeps you hooked. And once I noticed this, I started looking back at all the other indie games that I've been playing, and it's the same design philosophy that just keeps showing up again and again. Take Shroom and Gloom, you guys obviously really like that one. On the surface, it's just a standard deck builder, but its focus is on its aesthetics. It's trippy, it's hypnotic, and it's instantly memorable. The gameplay loop itself is simple, but the atmosphere is what makes it impossible to stop playing. Then on the flip side, you got a game like Balatro. Aesthetics are minimal in that game, almost bare bones, but the focus is entirely on the deck building itself. Every card, every combo, and every move. Two games, the same genre, completely different strengths, both thriving because they know exactly what they're about and what they're not trying to be. Hollow Knight, one of the most celebrated indie games of all time, has incredibly simple Metroidvania combat, but it is refined to a razor's edge, responsive, precise, and satisfying.
One of the reasons you can tell how precise Hollow Knight's, like, system is because it's baked into the traversal as well. Like, speedrunners can get through the game with, like, half the upgrades just because of how, like, you can bounce on your nail, hitting spikes along the walls and stuff like that.
The team has poured all the rest of their energy into the hand-drawn art aesthetic and the music of the game, creating an atmosphere that is so immersive that the simplicity of its mechanics actually become a strength because it's not distracting you from living in that world. Then there's Schedule 1, which took over the internet earlier this year. It didn't lean on narrative, fidelity, or world building. all it did was just focus on production, automation, scalability, and crafting, systems that let the player generate an endless variety of effects out of a very narrow concept. I could list examples all day, but the pattern here is clear. The most successful indie games, the ones that are now rivaling some of the biggest names in the industry, do not spread themselves thin. They pick one or two things, they refine those endlessly, and that's why they shine. Players come to them for the core experience. That experience delivers, and the end result is both our time and our money feeling respected. This all kind of reminds me of that scene from Hunter x Hunter where Netero is training in the mountains, and to honor the martial arts, he prays and throws 10,000 punches a day for 4 years straight. At the beginning, it takes him 18 hours, but by the end, he can do it in under 1. That's what these indie developers are doing right now. They're not dabbling in dozens of systems. They're honing a single sword, and that's the only sword that they have, and they're honing it until they've mastered it completely. I think that there's a direct tie between how focused indie games are around their core mechanics and how rewarding they feel to play. When everything revolves around one central loop, every single action is contributing to progress, and you actually feel like you're moving forward. That constant reinforcement is so satisfying in a way that we just don't see that in AAA games anymore. I mean, think about a game like Diablo 4. That game is massive, but it feels shallow as all hell. The difficulty scales with your level, so you never actually feel stronger. You're not conquering anything in that game. You're just jogging on a treadmill. No matter how much time you sink in, the game is going to rob you of that sense of progression. And without progression, what is the point? That's why so many people have bounced off that game. That's why it's been so...
I really need to play that game more. I need to play Dead Cells more. I didn't even know that there was an Eagle upgrade.
Circling the drain ever since it launched. Players were not being rewarded for their time. They just felt like they were being managed by a system. And this is not a problem that's unique to Diablo. It's everywhere in AAA games. These games are so bloated with mechanics and so obsessed with long-term engagement that they flattened out the very things that made their games enjoyable. Growth, reward, progression, everything. It's all gone. Instead of just letting you feel like you're actually building mastery or that you're getting better at a game, they just dilute it with endless side content, artificial gates, and time sinks. You end up feeling like you're just going through the motions without ever feeling like you actually accomplished anything. Hell,
that's why I couldn't really enjoy some of those games. Like, I played, at least when I played it the first time, Diablo 4 was just, I never felt like I was getting that much stronger.
To be honest with you, in a lot of cases, it feels like you're just walking away from a game, not even feeling like you played one. Indie games just don't have that problem because they can't afford to have that problem. With limited resources, they have to make sure that every single action counts. Progression is not stretched across 10 systems. It's embedded directly into the heart of the game. When you get better at Celeste, you feel it in your fingertips. When your deck clicks in Slay the Spire, it's not just ticking off nodes on a skill tree. You are watching an entire system bend around all of the choices that you made. These games are built to reward you constantly, not with filler or cosmetics, but with an actual feeling, a genuine feeling of accomplishment. That's why players are gravitating towards these games. They respect your time. They don't waste it with pointless padding or grinding. Instead, they just try to make sure that every single minute feels meaningful. And that's something that AAA is almost completely lost sight of. It feels like a lot of AAA games today are more focused on just activating neurons than actually being an enjoyable game or, God forbid, a refreshing experience. Everything over the course of the last 10 years has grown to the point where so many of these games feel like they just need to have...
Getting so distracted by his Dead Cells gameplay.
That's all it is, rather than actually having anything meaningful.
But yeah, a lot of these indie games, their sense of progression is baked into it. Like, you feel like you're getting stronger. Like, Slay the Spire was a good example, because I've been playing that again. You feel like your choice is absolute, like, you don't even feel, you know your choices absolutely matter. You know, like, this card is what I need for this boss, and, like, this choice will make that choice better, and stuff like that. Like, you feel yourself getting stronger, you know you're getting stronger. There's no, like, detraction from the mechanics. There's no obfuscation of other things.
To do more and more year over year, even with some of the best games in AAA. I'm not finishing these games saying, wow, that was incredible, or feeling sad that it's over. More or less, I'm just happy that I made it to the finish line and didn't waste $70. And I think that's the real difference. AAA keeps going.
That's what I love about a lot of those indie games I still have, is I didn't waste any money. Because I'm still coming back to them to this day. That means that I definitely didn't waste money.
Going wide and stretching itself thin, while indie games go deep, and in doing so, they become the most rewarding part about gaming today. You know, I only came across this idea because the fact that I was flipping through my library looking for games that I wanted to play. I landed on a couple of indie games that I wanted to cycle through, and then somebody let me know, hey, by the way, you know, we have Metal Gear coming out, and Battlefield, and Borderlands, and Lost Solicide, and a couple of other games, and I was just like...
I need to go to bed. Just hearing that made me want to go to bed.
I don't want to.
I don't want to.
If I want to.
Please, go away.
That are coming out in the next coming weeks and coming months, and while I love content, I don't know if I can play them all. Sorry, man. You know, it just feels like AAA games require too much energy to play anymore, and it shouldn't feel that way. It's such a weird thing for me to say, but that's honestly the way that I feel. I had a bunch of people that were asking me to play Mafia Old Country, and I was just like, I don't want to. As simple as that, I don't want to.
Like, it looks great, and I've liked some of my friends that played it. Like, Yoru already played it. There you go. Go watch her playthrough. This was a good stream, I guess.
I played a lot
Shut
of
up!
AAA games, but they just
I was joking.
make me feel worn out. And in a lot of cases, when I play an indie game, I feel refreshed. I feel entertained. I feel like I got something out of the experience. I learned something, or I experienced something new, or I don't know. I just feel rewarded for playing their games, and I just don't get that with a lot of AAA games anymore. I don't really know how to put it better into words than what I did with this video, but hopefully it actually worked. I do think that walking away from the core aspects of your game is the core issue here. Because
they need to thin it down, get to the core of the game, and just...
BTW Boka before you end. Check your voice redeems lol.
I'm gonna fight you. I'm not ending. Shut the frick up. What does this button do? Shut up!
when you're flattening out progression the way that a lot of these games have to be able to stretch out their gameplay as long as they could, you need those spikes in there. I need those ups and downs. I need to feel like a god, and then I need to get knocked down a couple of pegs and then climb my way back up. That's what makes these games feel so good, because you feel like you're actually overcoming an obstacle rather than the game itself being the obstacle. And I know it sounds like a meme, but they don't make them like they used to, and honestly, they just don't anymore. And I think that's why indie has been doing so well recently. It's because these guys are so much closer to the origins of where game design starts, so they're so much closer to the core mechanics, and that's why people are starting to gravitate towards them. You know, this is just one reason out of 100, but I think it's the most important reason of all. I really do. And it goes back to this idea that I had before where I was talking about how more of these publishers need to just let their guys make all kinds of different games.
They need to let them free. They need to stop mandating all these sequels. Stop mandating all this garbage. Stop pushing all this garbage. A lot of these companies, I feel like, would make way more money if they just got out of being public. Go back to being a private company. And, like, make a game. I think Larian proved that. I think a lot of these indie games are proving that. Because they're making more money than you do. And you're getting mad about it. When you should just be like, I don't need the financiers anymore.
Just make smaller games. Make games that don't cost you $300 million.
Exactly.
Make games that don't have everybody's lives and their jobs riding on the line of its...
Like, why are you doing that? Why would you ever put your entire company on the line when you're that big of a company? Why are you going all the way to the... Thank you for the subby, William. Thank you. Do I have a plan for stream day? Maybe.
Success. Make some games that are fun because the developers are having fun making them.
Exactly.
Those are the kind of games that I want to play. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. you guys did enjoy the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video with your friends. Thank you for everything. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for all the comments recently. I've really appreciated it. Anyway, I will catch you guys later. Stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. Peace.
Peace. Family, family, family. And that was Little Drops. It's a little conspiracy theory. I've been thinking about watching it. Here's my only problem with watching this, is I'm pretty sure it's going to get killed in the algorithm. Like, no one's going to see it. It happened to him, and it's happened to him twice now. Because look, 81,000 views. Actually, it did way better than most of them, actually. But,
trying to put...
But I think you need to see it, at least.
How does this even happen? How does the Roblox situation connect with the payment processors like Visa and MasterCard and PayPal, and also connect with online safety acts, like the UK Online Safety Act, what's going on in America right now with the kids online...
Like, look at his list. Demand for Epstein list, called crazy for wanting it released, collective shout appears, payment processors censor anime and games, UK Online Safety Act comes into effect to censor adults. They're all doing similar acts. Multiple companies jump on the bandwagon to force it. PayPal removed from Steam. Roblox scandal gets government attention instantly. Like, normally it takes them a bit, but they instantly latch onto it. The person that, like, the VP works with the online safety organizations. And then multiple tech companies on those boards with the VP are companies wanting to force the ID.
Safety Act, the Screen Act, what's going on also in Canada.
And then there's the fact that the person that created the act, who wrote the suggestion, the law thing, he was a part of it. He was a part of the company and everything. And they're set to gain a lot of money if this act passes. But because he left the project right before it was released, it counts as him not being a part of it. So they don't have to change anything about the law. Isn't that a little weird? If there's a loophole like that?
Australia, EU, how in the hell is this all connected now? I'm just... Let me just speed run and get everybody up to speed before I get into the conversation of this video. First off, we have demand for the Epstein list. Basically, the internet and everybody online and in the world basically want the Epstein list, released. The government basically says, you're crazy for wanting it released. Then, collective shout appears. Payment processors censor anime.
I did! I was up at 7-star waiting for you! I was on Discord talking to people. I waited so long.
In games, UK Online Safety Act comes into effect to censor adults. Australia, EU, USA, and Canada do similar acts or bills within their Congress or forms of government. Multiple companies jump on the bandwagon to force ID. YouTube is a very good example. They didn't need to do what they've done, but they are forcing it on...
It's okay, Star. I will try again tomorrow, but you need to be ready.
YouTube in the United States for clarification, not the UK.
This is actually really good, guys.
Steam. Roblox scandal, aka a whole thing with children getting exploited and horrific things going online that has just basically been ignored for years now, and it finally bubbles to the surface. A scandal that now instantly gets the government involved.
No!
Believe me, you literally have the attorney.
You can't watch by yourself, sir. You have to wait. I'm gonna do it again tomorrow. And I'm gonna start pinging you now. I'm like, start!
Attorney General in America suing Roblox. You have them
Yeah.
being investigated by the government. Roblox is getting investigated. So back into this, you have instantly the government's attention notices Roblox. So the government notices them. Then Roblox's VP of Civility and Partnerships works with online safety organizations. Multiple tech companies on these boards with the VP, aka the VP of Roblox, are companies wanting forced ID. If you don't believe this part about the VP, let's show you. This is Tammy. This is the VP of Civility and Partnerships of Roblox and is on the FOSI board chair. Let's read her description real quick to kind of get a good understanding of what she does. We're all on the same page. Tammy is the Vice President of Civility and Partnerships at Roblox, where she spearheads the platform's digital civility initiative and works to foster a global community of internet safety leaders to ensure good digital citizenship on Roblox. To establish a healthy and safety community, Tammy is focused on providing kids, teens, parents, and caregivers with skills needed to create positive online experiences in partnership with the world's leading safety and industry organizations. At Roblox, she empowers platforms to use self-govern and create a confident, resilient online community with the knowledge and tools to create positive experiences for themselves and others in the metaverse. It doesn't just stop here. We have this I'm going to show. Let me pull this up. MasterCard and Visa are partners with Roblox. Then, it gets much worse than that. We have politicians actively, within the last month, trading Roblox stock. At first glance, this might seem like a nothing burger, but it's much more than that. If you take a look at the names, obviously if we want to ignore Nancy Pelosi and stuff like that, we need to look at the recent one. June of this year. Jim Banks. Now you're probably wondering, who is Jim Banks? Well, Screen Act. Jim Banks. It does stop there. The Kids Online Safety Act. Jim Banks. One of the co-sponsors out of the 40 co-sponsors. And what makes this even crazier, he is one of the newer co-sponsors. The newer co-sponsors. AKA after the drama hit, with all of the drama with online safety and forcing ID, he decided to get into the ring with the Kids Online Safety Act. So this is after the collective internet was aware of what was going on, but decided to join in. And what makes this even crazier is because this points to what I just talked about.
Basically, they're spinning in this to profit from it. The way they did this is they're basically going to spin this downfall of Roblox into a way to make a lot of money. They're spinning it this way so that they can make a lot of money, while also making it where people can't ever basically what this will do is it'll make it where kids can't get on Google and stuff and research, so they can't find out their own information. So it'll be easier to doctrinate them. But they can go to the sites like Roblox because they're for kids, where the perverts are, where they'll indoctrinate them. Oh dear. That's the idea, Anon, is basically the way they're doing this is they're gonna turn Roblox into the best place to find kids. Because Roblox is gonna be one of the few places where kids can just go and play. But they're gonna make a lot of money doing it as well. Because money's the most important thing. You gotta remember. You gotta look at where the money goes. Isn't it already? True.
Now, instantly, the government gained notice of what was going on with Roblox.
It seems a little weird that they instantly start noticing this when people are like really focused on the Epstein thing.
And initiated like a lawsuit, an investigation, all this, but actively ignore everything else that's been on.
Yeah, Squirrel, I've been telling anyone I talk to that, like, when I talk to them in, like, basic conversation, if, like, it ends up going into, like, video games and stuff, and I ask how, like, what their kids play and stuff, if they say Roblox, I give them the look, and I'm like, you really don't want them playing that. Promise you. And most people trust me. Because they know me as, like, very good with, like, computers and games and stuff. And I explain a little bit. I'm like, there's a lot of, unsavory type of people on that game. Here's the difference between you and a normal parent today, Squirrel. You found out and you stopped it. That's what I'm saying, Squirrel. The people that should be monitoring them aren't. And are using the excuse that they shouldn't have to. No, you should have to. They're your child. If you didn't want to pay attention and take care of this human being that you made, you shouldn't have made them. That's your fault. It's your responsibility. Stop trying to use the government and other places to do your job.
But it's so much worse than that. Let's go further. This is the legendary Madam Savvy that's actively been helping the conversation around payment processors, the censorship of the internet, war basically on the internet, bringing to light what Collective Shout has been doing, what these, Visa and MasterCard's been doing, what Roblox has been doing, and what all these different CEOs, etc. have been doing. They've been actively investigating, researching, and pitching in all the information they can, pulling it together in their post, and this is what they found today. And I'm going to cover it, because when you see this, this is the monsters we're dealing with. This showcases how everything going on is just... You're gonna be... I might be called crazy. It's fine if you call me crazy or I'm a conspiracy theorist.
I don't think it's a conspiracy theory. Because it makes too much sense. It explains a lot of things. And it shows where the biggest, like, reason this isn't a conspiracy theory is one of the biggest proofs is the money. Where's the money going? And it's all pointing to this.
But I want to show this again before I read this.
Scales.
This.
Now.
No. Squirrel, you're a grandfather-uncle figure. It's your job, if the parents won't step up, to step up. You can't be there always. But if you're in a grandfather position, that means you are a father to the father. Or the mother. And you need to express how bad it is that they're on a site like that.
Humans are too stupid to do anything
within
meaningful.
just like 3 weeks.
Rude.
You're not gonna look me in the eye, or look into the camera or at the screen right now, look at me, and straight up comment down below and say that this is just a coincidence.
Here's the thing about coincidences. Remember what Gibbs says in NCIS. He doesn't believe in coincidences, for one. But also, coincidences happen once in a while. coincidences stop at 2. At 3, it's a pattern. At 4, it's... At 4, it's like, it's planned. That's a lot more than 4. That's a lot more than 4 connections.
This does not just happen. I can understand maybe...
If it was just the first 4 even, I would say, yeah, sure. But then it goes, you can't accept that. Then they do that. Then they do that. It's connecting too much. It's connecting way too much.
1 or 2 or 3 things. But you're not telling me...
That's the crazy thing. Nintendo of America is one of the people behind this. Because they don't like people showing everyone else how bad their new system is.
With everyone involved, all these different...
It's not the Illuminati. Calm down.
Companies involved, these tech companies involved, and everything that's been ongoing, you're not telling me...
Not cute, Alan!
There is not connections between all of this that obviously are trying to push a narrative of censoring the internet and taking away your freedom of speech, your freedom of expression, to monitor you, to sell you.
Basically, the thing that a lot of these governments don't want, and they're starting to realize what the internet is. The internet is a marketplace of free ideas. You're able to form your own opinion about things because you know so much about things.
Activate the doomsday weapon. It's time to destroy everything and start all over again.
Yeah, pal. Calm down, doctor. Basically, you need to start contacting your government official and being like, if you vote for this, you won't be there next year. Shut up! But, like, basically you need to express to them, hey, I'm very against this act. And a lot of my, like, neighbors are very against this act. Stop it. Or you will not be voted in next year. You will lose your position. If enough people start calling and saying that,
your data. It's very obvious. And there is so much reason to believe that. But let's look at what Madam Savvy had to show here first. So industry capture is an understatement. When you have communication heads from Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, and not only part of FOSI, but also a rating board. So yeah, if you didn't catch that, FOSI is the Family Online Safety Institute, which I'm pulling up here. This is FOSI. And once again, for those that don't remember, I know you remember, but I'm going to pull it up. Tammy, which is the VP of Civility and Partnerships at Roblox, is a part of the FOSI board. Obviously trying to push the narrative of online safety and potentially force like online verification with ID, data collection. You get the point. That's what we're dealing with here. So basically, that's what Madam Savvy's saying. So
that's what they're doing here. If this doesn't get stopped...
I am tired of idiots being in this world and ruining everything. It's time to start again.
Calm down.
You have Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T are part of FOSI as well. They're also a part of a rating board. It makes you ask questions. Fred, though, showing a small glimpse into Tammy's web and how it connects even to ESRB and the actual industry influence these people have. FOSI, interesting things to note. For the low price of $15,000, you can hop on into the Cool Kids Club that feature all the tops from all your favorite companies like Microsoft, Nintendo of America, Sony, Disney, AT&T, Verizon, Discord, TikTok, Tencent, Google, and in more. In fact, you'll never know who you will find and what kind of background they have. Makes you wonder why they're all getting involved in certain things. Here's
I'll fight you, Ellen.
What she mentions. So you can become a member of this board or get a membership for the Cool Kids Club, so to speak, if you do the low price of $15,000. Then, these are the people that are on the board, from what Savvy can kind of pull up. And if you take a look here on the bottom right of this picture, I might move my camera around or even make it disappear for you can see. These individuals are all affiliated in some form of massive company. Google, Netflix, you have Microsoft, you have Epic Games, Roblox, obviously. You can see the affiliation with these massive companies, which is red flag. Massive red flag, especially a lot of these companies are connected with FOSI, connected with age verification and online safety. You get where I'm getting at. Then, you got this. This is Tammy, the same individual I just showed earlier. That is the VP for Roblox and stuff. You can see her connections. She's a board member of a tech coalition with multiple tech coalitions and stuff wanting online safety and everything like that, but actively has ignored the issues going on with Roblox for years. Think about that. Then, it gets much worse. We have Courtney here, which we have Madam Savvy. She actually talks about this in a second, which I'm going to scroll down and let you read. She talks about Tammy in this little description, which I've kind of already covered mostly. Wait, let's see here. Yeah, here it is. She talks about Tammy. Tammy helped give insight into what teens want, noting how teens want more stories with friendship and less with romance. So why is Roblox trying to turn into a dating platform? For those that don't know.
Isn't that odd?
No, Roblox tried to become...
Unexist them all.
Oh, doctor.
I showed this in yesterday's video.
Calm down.
But, yeah. Despite all...
Pumpkin, that is all. Yes, Pumpkin!
Why was this allowed? Well, let's go a little bit further. But DICE is what is interesting to note, because that is relating to the ESRB, aka the rating system. Because Vance, dear leader of the ESRB, is on the board of DICE, the same DICE that had on Greg, who went on lamenting "fuck Donald Trump" and "fuck Elon Musk." This is them right here. This is the board, the DICE board. You can see her on the board there, and this is what they were saying a while back. These two are quite close and display it through their connections and what boards they're on.
Pumpkin!
The ESRB was the one pushing age verification software with Yodi, now partnered with Spotify this year for age verification.
No, you don't want age verification. Do you want to know why age verification can't exist? At least definitely not in this form. It's because all it does is add more control against adults. It doesn't actually stop kids. Kids will find a way. You forget that most kids are smarter than adults. The kids are very smart, and they learn very fast. Age verification isn't stopping anything. Age verification, all that does is give them the reason to deny adults. You think that doesn't make sense? Think about it this way. They can set up a system with age verification where you send your ID in and they can deny it and be like, it's blurry or something like that. Or like, we can't tell if you're an adult or not. Or card doesn't check out.
Okay, maybe I am getting too mad at this. Sorry, Booker.
Okay, here you go. Here's the other thing, Alan. They won't find that. You know why? Because they'll already be gone. Because it'll be so much easier to poof a kid. Because you won't have a freedom of information. You won't have that marketplace of ideas. Because only the people they like that have their ideas will be able to move around freely. It'll be gated communities. Yes, I agree with Squirrel. Kids need to fall to get back up. Kids are the most durable and resilient for a reason. It's so they can fall to get back up. It's so they can learn to fail. Because if they can't learn to fail, they won't know what failure is like. So they won't be able to handle failure later on in life.
And WEF partner. But the FTC shot them down. She laments it herself. Don't take speculation. She talks about it, she laments it, and is upset about it as well for it being shot down. Anyway, here is Tammy directly interacting with information about Australia's age verification proposals from 8 months ago. Online Safety Act. The video, Andrew acknowledges no one wants to upload ID to use Instagram, acknowledges no face scanning is effective. Tech isn't there yet, says this is a feel-good measure. References South Korea banning under 18s for a decade, but found it did nothing. China was the same outcome, and the data showed it didn't do anything positive. Nothing changed.
See, there's literal proof. Literal proof that I'm right about this.
However, he then says, I'm much more optimistic about places like here in the UK, where we are actually listening to young people. We're listening to researchers like myself in terms of making online environments safer, as opposed to sticking our heads in the sand and just pretending like this social media thing is just going to go.
Baka alpaca.
When
Not alpaca.
believes companies should be held responsible, this is the key quote too. This is what he says about if companies should be held responsible. Yes, so I think there's a need to be a huge burden on these social media firms. First of all, they need to be able to share, to be forced to share the data that they have on young people.
Oi! Why would I want these companies to share the information they have on their younger clientele? No! They should not be forced to share that. In fact, that information should be
Check DMs after vid.
instantly shredded. Instantly shredded. If it's I think what they should be done is forced to delete data of anyone under 17. Actually, let me think about this. No, anyone under 16. Because I feel like 17, most of the 17-years are probably already about to be 18. So, like, they might as well just keep that data so they can use their marketing and stuff. That's fair to them. Under 16, though, you don't need that information. You can't even market to them for another 2 years. Go away. Well, 2 years or more. So, like, yeah, no.
People, not with
They need to do what Twitch does. If you say the phrase, I'm 12, on Twitch, your account's like permabanned. Basically, if they find out you're under the age of their minimum age requirement, you're gone.
advertisers, but with researchers, so that we can actually unpick what the harms and the benefits of these are.
And they don't care if you're actually over that age. They make you send in an ID to prove it. Because they're like, no. We're not having a kid here. Which is the only right way to do it. Then they just open a new account. Well,
Everything that gets
like,
on the internet stays on the internet. Even if they approach it with full responsibility, which they won't, the data will still be leaked.
exactly, Lurvin. That's why I'm saying, need to stop it. Stop doing this, because all you're doing is satisfying yourself and being creepy.
Online platforms. Talks about tax money filling potholes and says they should go to understanding young people, then follows up with ethical design code, setting a ban at 16. It absolves companies of responsibility. If something bad happens on a platform and a user sneaks on, the company says they are at fault. They have the best tech, and they don't need to make their platform safer or better. It is all...
I'm gonna be honest with you, they don't. Because it's really not on them. It's on the parents. No tech company should ever be, like, liable for that. Because it's almost impossible for them to stop that. Even if you put these laws and rules in place, it will do nothing. There's proof of that. Like, from time memoriam. Boston Legal actually predicted this one with their episodes, like, over 20 years ago. That's pretty funny.
about control and...
But what's hilarious is, if we don't stop this, we're one step closer to Ready Player One universe. We're one step closer to idiocracy and player one. Don't believe me? Look into those books and you'll be like, oh, I don't like this.
And giving government more control. These research groups usually end up government funded.
Odd.
Elon commented on Twitter that this seemed like a backdoor way to control access to the internet by all Australians. And he goes on to answer, a broken clock is right twice a day, but no, I mean, I think there is a real human rights implication here. Young people have a right to information, children have a right to play.
Like, as much as some of you hate Elon, he's right. He's literally stating, he's one of the few people that's like really high in power that's saying, I don't think we should do this. This seems a little backdoorish scary. Lock on. Here's the problem. Those are far in the future. But they have the same rules. This is one step towards them. I didn't say it was going to make it those worlds. I said it was going to be another step towards them. We already got the whole thing where we're making it... Oh, we're going to make it worse? No. Idiocracy kind of says what'll happen. We're going to have a lot of dumb people. Dumber people. Dumbest people. We'll actually have a description for dumbest.
I disagree with this. Children do not have a right to the internet.
Yeah, they do. We are an internet society now. They have a right to it. Alan, we are an internet society. No. The way internet has gotten where it's so easy to access now, it is a right. Because without it, they can't research. Because a lot of libraries have closed down and they're only few and far between. They cannot learn about things. They cannot reach a wider audience. I feel like it's a combination of both, really. If anything. It's not exactly a right, but it's not exactly a privilege either. It's a necessity. We can say it's a privilege, but it's also a necessity right now. Because the internet is a marketplace of free ideas. You can't think for yourself if you can't learn about something. So what is happening here is they're making it harder for kids to think for themselves. So that they're easier to indoctrinate. That's what they're really doing here. A bonus for them is they'll be able to censor adults that are already free thinking. Alan, how useful is one textbook? How useful is 5 textbooks? That's my explanation. One textbook has one point of view. The author has written what they believe to be right. Whereas if you have 5 textbooks, you know a more correct, you can extrapolate a more correct viewpoint. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that kids can't survive without the internet. I'm saying it is very necessitated and important that they do. That's also true, Enon. Enon makes a very good point. A lot of textbooks have tons of information removed by now. Because, oh, that's problematic. Or, oh, I don't think that should be taught. Or, oh, Exactly, Squirrel. I'm saying supervision is required. Make it easier for the parent to supervise and restrict. Do not let the government or companies decide, because they don't have your best interests at heart. Oh no, I'm not saying that, Squirrel. I'm saying that give the parents the tools. Because the parents are the only ones that have that right.
He does ultimately agree with Elon. It won't make things safer, but he still thinks what the UK will do, this was 8 months ago, will be best. This is why looking at their social circles is key. Who do they agree with, who do they support, and who do they get awards from and why? It is all one giant club, and we are not invited despite being the ones to pay their paychecks. So, to make a long story short, this Roblox situation, if I had to take an educated guess, judging by where the environment is going right now, it's going to be used as a platform or a political device.
Or a scapegoat.
To advocate for COSA, the Kids Online Safety Act, and the Screen Act to get passed.
If both of those get passed, VTubers are next. And then it's streamers. Because that's free thinking. That's not allowed. And then your video games will be last.
To bet you, as this gains traction, as the government gets more
Actually, video games will be one of the first things to go. You'll start getting more Dragon Age the Veilguard and less Elden Ring.
Involved with Roblox, for instance, investigating them, so to speak. It's going to be used to try to censor the internet and force age verification on the entirety of the internet. And the reason why this happened is because you have people on these boards, that Madam Savvy even pointed out, that are all connected.
And please realize that the UK doesn't like this.
With tech firms.
Silo. Hello, there is two of me. Silo, what the heck?
Willfully ignored these issues on their platform.
What the heck?
Years. But these people that ignored it are now coming into the line of fire, or they're now using it as a means to put more safety regulations on the internet, or they will try to put this as safety regulations, because this is what they want. They have now this that has appeared, an obvious issue that everybody can rally behind, which, let's be fair, Roblox should not get away with what they're doing. It is absolutely despicable. It's gross what's going on in Roblox. But it's obvious what it's going to be used for. It's going to be used...
It's almost like it's on purpose.
...to advocate for what's been going on.
Stop!
That's what it will be. It's going to be used for that. It will. And it's crazy to think everything is involved. These payment processors, these big tech companies, these social media platforms, the governments. It's insane. Am I crazy? Am I crazy for noticing this? Am I? Please, just. Am I crazy?
It's not a crazy thing. If all of the ducks line up in a row, that's a clear sign. If it was just 1 or 2 ducks, we wouldn't be talking about this. If it was 4 or 5 ducks, it'd be funny little conspiracy theory. But it's 18, 19, 20 ducks. They're at the end goal, and that's why they're trying to rush it.
Because this doesn't just all happen. It feels so crazy that it's like, it's obvious, but it's like, I feel like I'm a conspiracy theorist for even talking about it. That's how insane it is.
What's funny is, that was Chibi Reviews, by the way. Like, go view and give them a like if you agreed and stuff. But, what's crazy about that is there's another video of a guy that had another video that was even more precise that we were going to watch, but I felt like we needed to have some good happiness. But his video has even more proof. And what's hilarious about his video, and he shows you, is he did 2 videos. He did one, and it was doing really, really good. Better than Chibi's. And then it suddenly nosedived in, like, relevancy. And he looked at it, and it showed, they just started automatically, instead of, like, showing it to more people that would have cared, the algorithm started showing it to people in, like, India and stuff who wouldn't have understood what he was saying. So it would have killed the retention rate. It would have killed the watch rate. Isn't that odd? That a very well made, super, like, easy to understand version of what Chibi did that was doing very good in the algorithm suddenly died for an odd reason. Wonder why. Is YouTube a part of that? They are. They're one of the first people that are trying to put in the age verification. They have AI deciding if you're under 16 or not. You know how obfuscating that could be? Where they could be like, oh, it just thought you were under 18. I watch lots of murder videos. How does it think I'm under 16? You see what I mean? Obfuscating. Alright. Let's see what this fun video is.